This is the third and final part of the interview with Ostap Kryvdyk. If you've missed the previous parts, watch them now.
On August 30th, 2025, Andriy Parubiy, a Ukrainian politician and former chairman of the Verkhovna Rada, was shot dead on the streets of Lviv. He was a very influential and important figure who shaped the political environment in Ukraine. I talked about Andriy Parubiy with Andriy Parubiy's close associate, Ostap Kryvdyk, a Ukrainian analyst who is currently also a soldier in the armed forces of Ukraine. Paweł Bobołowicz, welcome. Black Sky, Stop Fake. But at the same time, his time as head of the Supreme Council was also a period of growing tensions. You mentioned this joint declaration, but at the same time, the Monument War broke out. Ukraine is de facto introducing a moratorium on exploration work. I don't want to get into a dispute about whether it was formally introduced or not, but something has indeed stopped working. I remember very well the meeting with Marshal Kuczynski. I'm not sure if the words you quoted were said in Truskavets at the time, but I remember that meeting very well as one of its elements, the conversation in Tustan and the opportunity to meet directly with the then chairman of the Verkhovna Rada, Andriy Parubiy. I remember the spirit that was in the air at the time. For some reason, by 2019, that spirit had faded, and even become so heavy that it sounds very strange, even unbelievable today, to say that your community, and with it Andriy Parubiy, was at the same time in favor of cooperation with Poland, that there was talk of an alliance and the idea of a Baltic-Black Sea partnership, and there was talk of it. But why did it drown in practical actions, in real politics? Why was the period up to 2019 not used to actually build a real Polish-Ukrainian alliance, as Andriy Parubiy saw it?
Jak na to patrzył Andriy Parubiy?
Andriy looked with regret at the lost opportunities for the development of this declaration. This happened when the Sejm adopted unilateral resolutions. His position was...
Are you referring to the changes in the law on the Institute of National Remembrance? Am I right?
Yes, among other things. Again, this war of monuments, provocations against Ukrainian commemorations in Poland, then the moratorium on exhumations. There was a sense of asymmetry in this. I remember the moment when one of the Polish politicians spoke of a historical offensive. For me, the grandson of displaced persons from the Lemko region and the great-grandson of a UPA soldier, this is painful. I was looking for peace and I got an offensive. And when an attack occurs, a person defends himself. I do not believe that the Ukrainian side has responded symmetrically to these steps. Sometimes one could get the impression that the Polish side wants to replay World War II and defeat Ukrainian nationalists. What is happening in Poland is strange to me. In the face of Russian aggression, Ukrainian national memory is becoming the target of an information attack. Are the million Ukrainians in Poland, including the descendants of UPA soldiers, proud of their ancestors' fight against the communists, supposed to remain silent? Treating talk about their families as a crime is incomprehensible. Of course, Poland is sovereign and makes its own decisions. But as neighbours with our own dignity, this is not the climate that should prevail at the height of the war with Russia.
I think you also understand that one of the problems is that a fundamental issue, the question of exhumation, has not been resolved. Now that this topic is gaining momentum, perhaps there will be some change. I am sure there will be, but it is always wrong when the dead become hostages, no matter who they were, Polish and Ukrainian historians.
Мабуть, Павле, тоді нам не вистачало.
Perhaps, Pavel, but we lacked moderators of this caliber to talk honestly, to talk on the basis of moral foundations built from Giedroyć to Kuchma and Kwasniewski, who ended this historical dispute at the cemetery of the defenders of Warsaw. We lacked that class and focus on values.
І в тому числі Українська Верховна Рада в часи Андрія Парубія проявила неймовірну стриманість.
I believe that the Ukrainian state under Andriy Parubiy showed incredible restraint. Imagine what would have happened if Kiev had recognized Operation Vistula as genocide in response to the Volhynia resolution.
I believe it was genocide, and I would not find that surprising. It was a communist crime.
But in the political dynamics, yes, it was a communist crime.
But I understand what you are saying because it would fit.
In the dynamics of the time, a symmetrical response to Warsaw's actions would have been inappropriate. Andriy's position was clear. Bilateral issues are resolved bilaterally, not through unilateral declarations for ourselves. When we hear that Ukraine with Bandera will not join the EU, imagine someone saying to Poland, "You will not join the EU with Dmowski." Would Poland renounce its leaders? This is about dignity. History is not black and white, and it is precisely where there are shades of grey that there is room for compromise.
You are surely aware of the difference in the perception of Dmowski and Bandera, and that the very juxtaposition of these figures already causes outrage among a large part of Poles. And for many this is obvious. Anyway, because this is also interesting, I would like us to return to the figure of Andriy Parubiy. Without hiding these historical references, the issue of recognition for the UPA, although, as you pointed out, it is about this part of the UPA's struggle. You never once mentioned the struggle against the Poles, only the struggle against the Soviets. Generally, Ukrainians perceive it this way, and that is why, as I understand it, there is a cult of the UPA, unless I am mistaken. In that case, please correct me, because my perspective, or speaking for.
Насправді зараз, коли йде велика
Today, during the Great War, Many units are taking the UPA as their patron. Soldiers are taking the pseudonyms of partisans. The difficult Polish-Ukrainian legacy is not the focus here.
Україно-польська спадщина не є в серці.
For Ukrainians, the UPA is a symbol of the struggle against Russia, and we are not fighting Poland, after
Для
all.
українців УПА є частиною логіки війни з Росією.
There was a time when I considered this story closed. We just need to take care of the graves of UPA soldiers in Poland, just as we take care of the graves of the Eaglets in Lviv. Period.
І на цьому історія є закінчена.
It's interesting what you said, that it was actually the issue of the Orleta cemetery that brought it to an end. On the one hand, Alexander Kwasniewski, and on the other, Leonid Kuchma. I guess that Kuchma is not a national hero from your perspective, and from mine, Alexander Kwasniewski raises many questions, but somehow they managed to do it. Perhaps there will come a time when you will agree and we will discuss Polish-Ukrainian issues, but I would like us to return to the figure of Andriy Parubiy himself. Perhaps in this context, one could say that his character has become, I'm looking for the right word now, if I say paradox, it will sound bad from your perspective, although from the Polish perspective, that's how it sounds. On the one hand, he was able to refer to history that Poles do not accept, and on the other, he spoke of the community of Polish and Ukrainian interests. It seems that he really thought deeply about this community because it was precisely these words and declarations that led to such a strategic alliance with Warsaw, also in the context of war. It is worth adding that Andriy Parubiy has not been the head of the Verkhovna Rada since 2019. If I remember correctly, since 2019, right?
Yes, from the end of the August 2019, Andriy Parubiy was simply a member of the parliament. Even more, he kept quite low profile.
The point is that he was not among those who made decisions about Ukraine. Let us remember that since 2019, power has been taken over by servant of the people, President Zelensky's party. Andriy Parubiy found himself in the opposition, in opposition circles. He was not a major political leader. In a sense, I don't want to say that he is disappearing, but he is certainly not one of those whose voice is heard first. His voice is most often commented on. Did he remain in the mainstream of this strategic cooperation with Poland, also in the context of war? You must have discussed this. How did he see it? How did he perceive the events after the full-scale Russian invasion?
Для Андрія Парубія особливим місцем була Тустань. І Тустань,
For Andriy Parubiy, Tustan was a special place. The name can be derived from the old Russian language as stand here. We are standing here. Before my friend's death, Andriy told him, all of Ukraine is now Tustan. We are standing like a fortress on the border of civilization. We are protecting Europe from the barbarians, just as Tustan did in the past.
Він бачив місію України для Європи, для вільного світу. І Польща в цьому плані є таким нашим найближчим тилом.
That was how he saw Ukraine's mission, and Poland is our closest rear base, and the rear base is just as important as the front.
Чи використовували вони при цьому емоції польських фермерів? Чи були там агенти? Я не знаю, я не можу цього доказати. Але для дуже багатьох українців бачити, як висипають українське зерно, як блокують кордон, було дуже боляче, бо
That is why the sight of grain being poured out of wagons was so painful. In my opinion, it was a Russian psychological operation. Were the farmers' emotions exploited? Were there agents there? I have no evidence. But for Ukrainians, this sight was painful after the Poles opened their hearts to us in 2022. This initial support should have been the foundation of friendship for centuries.
І мені сумно зараз дивитися, наскільки питання українських біженців стає політичною іграшкою, в той час, як це питання життя і смерті. Андрій останніми роками практично не
I
виїжджав
am
з України.
convinced that the Russians worked hard to destroy this trust.
Контакти високого рівня
It is sad to see the fate of refugees becoming a political toy.
Паралельно, час від часу він їздив в Миколаївську область, де він був в підрозділі територіальної оборони, з яким він спочатку обороняв Київ в березні-квітні 22-го року. Пізніше, от час від часу їздив до них.
Andriy has not left the country in recent
Як
years.
мені здається,
He
усвідомлено
broke off high-level
взяв
contacts and
такий
focused on national security.
невидимий підхід.
He travelled to the Mykolaiv region, to the unit with which he defended
Політика
Kyiv.
померла, коли Росія вторглася танками в Україну. Зараз потрібна єдність. Єдність навколо нашого уряду, єдність з союзниками. І
He consciously chose to withdraw from public life. He said, "Politics died when the tanks rolled in. Now, unity is what matters."
Але він мав свою велику моральну вагу. І він принципово не застосовував її в умовах російсько-української війни, розуміючи, що ми повинні тримати єдність.
Andriy Parubiy's moral strength was enormous. He did not use it for political games during the war. He understood that we had to maintain the state. He said, "If we lose the state, you will have nowhere to fight corruption. If we lose the state, we will cease to exist as a nation. The rest will be Russified." That was the most important thing for him.
Тих, хто буде чинити спротив, знищать мільйонами, а решта асимілюють, перетворять на росіян. Тому ми повинні втримати нашу державу за всяку ціну. Це головне, це найважливіше.
Do you think it was his position as a statesman that caused him to make such a sacrifice and lose his life? And what, in your opinion, was the reason he became the target of the assassination?
Він був ворогом Росії.
He was an enemy of Russia. He was the man who led Maidan to victory and built a country that survived the invasion. Russia did not forgive him for that.
Росія йому цього не пробачила.
We can discuss the lack of state protection. He became a symbol. We can ask how we allowed the attack on him to happen.
Більше, ніж просто людиною, він став символом. Так ми можемо говорити про інші моменти.
The legend of the father avenging his son is a fairy tale. It is part of Russia's hybrid war, suggesting internal strife among Ukrainians. It is a lie.
Це все продовження російської гібридної війни, яка подає легенду, що це різні...
Russia tried to kill Andriy Parubiy. It wanted to kill him primarily because of how effectively Ukraine is resisting it.
В першу чергу за те, що Україна настільки успішно протистоїть Росії.
When you look at Andriy Parubiy's life, his path parallel to the path of Ukrainian independence, the path of your adult life, as well as international issues including relations with Poland, do you think that what he did and said constitutes a kind of testament? Does it become a testament for you and Andriy Parubiy's colleagues? Could it also shape the future environment, whose role will be significant in the European and Polish-Ukrainian dimensions?
In the coming days, it will be 40 days since the assassination of Andriy Parubiy. As a community, we will gather together. The anthem of Spadzchina, an organization he founded and for which he wrote songs, includes the words, "Let us strike the golden spells so that our society may be eternal."
Легенда, яку Андрій Парубій любив розказувати про Тустань, це легенда про загублених хлопців.
He liked to tell the legend of Tustan and the Lost Knights, about a fortress that fell not in battle, but through trickery. A curse was cast, causing the defenders to lose their sense of identity and disperse.
Тому що вони не знали, хто з ними поруч. І фортеця сама по собі занепала, її вже не треба було штурмувати.
The legend ends with the curse being lifted and the knights finding each other again. Our task is to find each other and continue his work. How will we do this? We don't know yet. The shock is still too fresh. We are scattered in the army and in various communities.
Тому що надто близький цей шок, надто розкидані ми по службі в
I know one thing. Ukraine is Maidan. Ukraine is a coalition. There will never be a monopoly here. There will always be different people uniting for a cause. Andriy Parubiy was a master at building such coalitions. This is the legacy that we will carry on.
Я думаю, що це є та спадщина, яку ми понесемо далі.
Thank you very much for this conversation and for remembering Andriy Parubiy. Allow me to raise one more personal issue. You didn't want us to record the conversation in Polish. I know you haven't used it on a daily basis for a long time, but I remember that we spoke in Polish. This may also be proof that Andriy Parubiy's circle treats Poland in a special way. You know Polish, don't you?
Ну, трохи розмовляємо по-польськи, но не так, як аби płynnie. Powiedziałem, że zawsze
I speak a little Polish, but not very fluently. I would say I speak a little like a child. I need more time to find the words to talk about things that are sometimes complicated, but I hope that in the future I will have enough practice and my Polish will be fluent and rich enough to talk about professional and personal topics about everything.
Dosta bogate, żeby mówić o różnych tematach, o profesyjnych, o personalnych, o wszystkich.
Thank you very much, and thank you for those words in Polish. I also wish you that when Ukraine wins, you will find time to practice Polish, so that your Polish returns to the level we spoke at today, or, as you said, to a level that will allow you to express all your thoughts, although you did very well today. Please accept my gratitude as a soldier of the armed forces of Ukraine for what you are doing and for defending not only Ukraine but also Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.